9 seconds. That's roughly how often another In-N-Out burger gets slapped onto a tray somewhere in Los Angeles today. By the time the sun sets, this city will have sold 150,000 of them. Enough patties, lined up bumper to bumper, to stretch out for 2 full miles of pure, animal-style traffic. And burgers need toppings, which means somewhere across the county, an avocado is getting sliced open right about now, over and over, all day long. Los Angeles will get through 450,000 pounds of avocado today. That's the weight of about 3 blue whales, pitted, mashed, and spread across toast and burritos from Venice to Eagle Rock. Of course, none of that happens without caffeine first. The whole city runs on it. Angelinos will pour back 1.8 million cups of coffee before midnight, enough stacked cups to top the US Bank Tower twice over. Not every LA ritual involves eating, though. Some people just want the view. 15,000 people will hike up for a look at the Hollywood sign today, roughly the crowd you'd find packed into a large downtown arena, all just to snap the same photo everyone else is taking. But nobody's getting anywhere in this city without driving first. And LA's freeways are doing something almost impossible to picture. Cars and trucks will rack up 220 million vehicle miles on LA County freeways today alone, enough distance to drive to the moon and back roughly 460 times before tomorrow's rush hour even starts. Stack that against how far this city's freeways carry people compared to just crossing town, and the scale gets almost silly. And once people get fed, caffeinated, and off the freeway, plenty of them land on sushi. Los Angeles puts away 500,000 rolls today, which, laid end to end, would stretch over 4 miles of raw fish and rice. Somewhere above all that traffic, LAX is running its own operation entirely. 230,000 passengers will pass through those terminals today. That's like emptying 2 Rose Bowl stadiums of people in a single day, every single day, rain or shine. That's 2 Rose Bowls worth of people, funneled through security lines and jet bridges before most of the city has even had dinner. And for everyone who isn't flying, there's still the trains. Metro Rail will log 250,000 boardings today, enough riders to fill the Hollywood Bowl 15 times over before the last train pulls in for the night. But long before any of those trains pull out, the water that keeps this whole city running has already been on a 400-mile journey. Every day, the LA Aqueduct pours roughly 200 million gallons into the city. Water that fell as Sierra snowmelt months earlier before gravity walked it all the way down to your tap. Picture about 300 backyard swimming pools filled at once, all day, every day, just to keep the taps running and the lawns green. Compare that to what a single household actually uses, and the scale of the whole system starts to feel almost absurd. While all that water is arriving, somewhere in a cramped apartment or a coffee shop booth, another kind of production is quietly happening. Every day, LA's screenwriters register about 90 new scripts with the Writers Guild, hoping one of them becomes the next big thing. Stack up a single day's worth of those scripts, and you'd have a pile as tall as a 2-story house, 1 page at a time, 1 dream at a time. Not every story here has a happy ending, though, and neither does every commute. Out on the freeways and surface streets right now, the city is logging its daily tally of fender benders and worse. LA sees about 300 traffic collisions reported every single day, which works out to roughly 1 crash somewhere in the county every 5 minutes, day and night, rain or shine. If you zoom out on a map of the city, you can trace the same freeways carrying all that traffic threading between the neighborhoods, the studios, and the coastline that make this place what it is. And speaking of studios, somewhere among that gridlock, there's a decent chance you're stuck behind a production crew. On any given day, about 40 separate film shoots are active across the city. Enough camera crews and lighting trucks to fill a mid-sized studio backlot all at once, just scattered across real streets instead. If you're enjoying this so far, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Now follow all that traffic west, past the crews and the freeways, and it eventually spills out onto the sand. On a typical day, 500,000 people head to LA County's beaches, which is roughly the entire population of Atlanta deciding to spend the day by the ocean at once. Compare that to a quiet weekday in most cities, and the sheer density of humanity packed onto a strip of sand starts to feel almost like its own downtown. Somewhere out past all those beach towels, the water itself is just as crowded. Around 10,000 surfers paddle out into LA County's waves on an average day. Enough people bobbing on boards that if you lined them up shoulder to shoulder, they'd stretch out into a human chain a mile long. Not every day at the beach is calm, though. Some days, the hills behind it are the real story. During active fire season, LA County can burn through roughly 600 acres on an average day, a scorched footprint about the size of Griffith Park's golf courses combined, gone in a matter of hours. And when the smoke finally clears and the sun goes down, the city finds other ways to unwind. LA's dispensaries ring up about $3.5 million in cannabis sales every single day, which is roughly what a mid-tier film pulls in on a decent opening weekend, except this number resets and does it again tomorrow. But long after the smoke clears and the crowds thin out, the city just keeps quietly making more of itself. Starting in the maternity wards, where new Angelinos are arriving around the clock. Los Angeles County hospitals welcome about 270 new babies every single day. Enough newborns to fill 6 preschool classrooms before the sun even sets. A fresh batch of future Angelinos delivered daily like clockwork. Keeping a city of that size healthy takes an entire medical machine working around the clock. And nowhere is that more obvious than in the operating rooms. LA County hospitals perform about 1,500 surgeries every day. That's like an entire surgical wing, running non-stop shifts from sunrise to sunrise, never once going dark. To put that in perspective, a single typical hospital might handle around 20 surgeries in a day. LA's hospitals together are doing the work of 70 of them, simultaneously, every single day. Healthcare is only one piece of keeping this city running. Education is an entirely different machine, and it starts moving before most people finish breakfast. 400,000 students show up to LAUSD classrooms every single day. That's roughly the entire population of Oakland walking through school doors before first period. Line those students up against an actual city, and it barely makes a dent. Oakland's whole population is only a little larger than the crowd LAUSD moves through its hallways in a single morning. Not every daily ritual in LA happens in a classroom or a hospital. Some of it happens under a needle. Licensed studios across the city ink about 1,200 tattoo sessions every day. Enough fresh artwork to cover the skin of 10 entire adult humans, head to toe, before midnight. And when people need something a little more refreshing than a new tattoo, this city has an answer for that too. Angelenos knock back about 100,000 boba tea drinks every single day. Enough cups to fill a small parade of delivery vans rolling straight through the San Gabriel Valley. Half this city, it seems, would rather have the food come to them instead. And the numbers back that up in a big way. Something like 300,000 delivery orders get placed across LA every day. Enough bags of takeout to fill a parking structure 10 stories high, one order at a time. Picture every one of those orders as a scooter or a car, threading through traffic at once. That's the invisible fleet quietly crisscrossing the city every single evening. All that hustle needs somewhere to land, and LA's skyline is still very much under construction. There are about 45 construction cranes actively working across the city on any given day. Enough steel arms reaching skyward that, stacked end to end, they'd tower taller than 45 giraffes standing on each other's shoulders. Down where the city meets the ocean, a completely different kind of rescue operation is running non-stop. LA County lifeguards make about 60 rescues every single day, roughly one every 15 minutes of daylight along the coast. Someone pulled safely back to shore before they even realized how much trouble they were in. From ocean rescues to the machinery that keeps the whole city humming after dark. Every night, Los Angeles homes alone pull an almost unbelievable amount of power off the grid. Residential electricity used citywide runs about 65 million kilowatt hours a day. Enough juice to run a movie studio's entire lighting rig, every soundstage lit up for a decade straight, just from what people use in their houses and apartments. That's a lot of energy going in. And on the other end of a hard day, a lot of people end up needing help just to eat. Homeless services across the city distribute about 12,000 meals a day. Enough trays to fill a large high school cafeteria 3 times over, warm food handed out block by outreach workers and shelter kitchens working every single day of the year. I wonder how many meals get served to people in need where you live. Take a guess. and let us know where you're from in the comments. Not every emergency in this city is about hunger, though. Sometimes it's about getting somewhere fast. Across LA's hospitals, the emergency room doors never really stop swinging. Roughly 4,500 ER visits happen citywide every single day. About the seating of a small concert venue, passing through triage, urgent care, and waiting rooms before the sun even sets. And while some Angelenos are rushing to the ER, tens of thousands more are rushing to lecture halls instead. Between UCLA and USC alone, about 90,000 college students show up to class on a given day. Enough students to sell out the Hollywood Bowl 5 times over. Backpacks and laptops flooding 2 campuses that together function like a small city of their own. Enough students to sell out the Hollywood Bowl 5 times over. Meanwhile, out where the sirens actually matter, LA's fire crews are handling business of a very different kind. The Los Angeles Fire Department responds to about 25 structure fires a day citywide. Roughly 1 truck getting dispatched to a burning building somewhere in the city every single hour, around the clock, all year. It's not all emergencies, though. This city also just likes to unwind, and it apparently likes a glass of wine. Angelenos get through an estimated 40,000 bottles of wine every day. Enough bottles stacked together to build a glass pyramid taller than a 2-story house, 1 cork at a time, from Silver Lake wine bars to West Side dinner tables. All that consumption eventually turns into waste that has to go somewhere, and LA has an entire operation built just to burn through it. The city's trash-to-energy facilities process about 3,800 tons of waste a day, a weight equivalent to roughly 25 blue whales, incinerated and converted into power, instead of just piling up in a landfill. And if you want to see where Angelenos go to burn off all that energy themselves, look no further than the trails above the city. Hikers rack up an estimated 50,000 miles a day inside Griffith Park alone, combined across every visitor. That's the equivalent of 2 full round trips to New York and back, all on foot, all before most people even finish their morning coffee. But not every burst of LA energy happens on a trail. A lot of it happens in front of a microphone. This city has more recording booths per square mile than almost anywhere on Earth, and they're never quiet. Across LA's podcast studios, an estimated 600 episodes get recorded every single day. Enough finished audio to fill a 24-hour talk radio station nonstop for an entire month before you'd ever hear a repeat. Stack that against a single small-town station cranking out original programming, and LA's daily output buries it completely. This city alone could stock hundreds of stations for a month on one day's work. And once those studios wrap, a whole different kind of talent is clocking in down the street. Between the sitcom stages and the studio backlots, casting calls go out every morning for warm bodies to fill a scene. On a typical production day, about 2,000 background actors get booked citywide, enough extras to pack a mid-size high school gymnasium shoulder to shoulder, all just waiting for someone to yell action. When lunch break hits for that gymnasium full of extras, they're probably not walking far to find a meal. This city practically invented eating on the curb. Roll call for LA's rolling kitchens. About 400 food trucks fire up their grills across the city on any given day. Line them up nose to tail and they'd stretch over 3 miles of asphalt. A slow-moving strip mall of tacos and fusion bowls parked wherever the crowd is thickest. Meanwhile, down at the harbor, a very different kind of crowd is coming ashore. The Port of LA's World Cruise Center handles a steady stream of travelers stepping off the gangway every single day. On an average day, about 3,000 passengers embark or disembark at the port, roughly the entire population of a small mountain town, suitcases and all, pouring through customs before lunchtime. Compare that daily tide to the passenger count moving through a mid-size regional airport, and cruise embarkation alone rivals a small airport's worth of people, funneling through one terminal building. Not every visitor arriving in LA checks in through customs, though. Some of them just wander down from the hills uninvited. Animal services fields calls about a very particular kind of neighbor almost every hour of the day. Coyote sightings get reported to the city about 25 times a day. That's roughly 1 confirmed coyote spotted trotting through someone's backyard or crossing a street every single hour around the clock. From wildlife encounters to a much more deliberate kind of commitment, LA has a jewelry district built for exactly this moment. Somewhere in this city, someone's getting down on one knee. A lot. About 300 engagement rings get sold across LA on an average day. Enough sparkle to restock a jewelry store's entire display case several times over before closing time. And speaking of things that keep flowing no matter what, underneath all of that romance and hustle, the actual LA River is doing its quiet, unglamorous job. Even on a bone-dry day with no rain in sight, the LA River still carries a real current through its concrete channel. On a typical dry season day, about 40 million gallons of water flow through the LA River, enough to fill roughly 60 backyard swimming pools, moving quietly through a channel most Angelenos drive past without a second glance. Set that next to the volume of water the city delivers through its recycled irrigation system, and the river's natural flow actually outpaces it by a wide margin, a reminder that even LA's most overlooked waterway is still doing serious work. And if a river that size still needs somewhere to send all that water rolling toward, so does every skater who just wants a smooth patch of concrete to land a trick on. LA's skate parks never really close. Across the city's skate parks, about 2,000 sessions get logged every day. Enough riders rolling through in a single day to fill a small amphitheater with nothing but wheels, decks, and the occasional triumphant shout. But not every ride through this city ends with a triumphant shout. Some end with handcuffs. LA's police force doesn't get a day off either, and the numbers keep moving around the clock. Every day, LAPD officers make about 250 arrests citywide. Enough people taken into custody to fill 5 city jail transport vans, bumper to bumper, every single day of the year. Justice moves fast here, but so does entertainment. And this city still can't stop watching itself on the big screen. Across LA County's movie theaters, somewhere around 3,000 screenings run every single day. That's enough back-to-back showtimes to run a film festival non-stop, morning to midnight, for an entire week, except it happens in just one day. Stack that against how people actually get around town, and the picture gets even busier. Out on the streets, LA's bike lanes carry a serious daily crowd of their own. About 15,000 rides a day roll through the city's bike lanes, enough cyclists that if you line them up wheel to wheel, they'd stretch the entire length of the LA River. Put that next to the city's other favorite two-wheeled habit, and you get a real showdown. Scooter share adds another 20,000 rides on top of that, meaning on any given day, scooters actually outpace bikes, together adding up to 35,000 rides weaving through traffic before most people have finished breakfast. All that motion leaves a mess behind, and this city cleans it up before most people even wake up. Storm drains across LA get cleared of about 5 tons of debris on an average dry day, roughly the weight of a fully loaded moving truck, hauled out of gutters and grates before it ever reaches the ocean. Keeping this many people moving also means keeping them medicated, and that number is almost too big to picture. Pharmacies across LA County dispense something like 900,000 prescriptions every single day. Picture a warehouse aisle stacked floor to ceiling with pill bottles, restocked completely every 24 hours just to keep up. And when the body needs more than a prescription, this city shows up for that too. Blood donation centers across LA collect about 400 donations a day, enough to fill roughly 51-gallon jugs, each one a direct line to someone in an operating room who needed it that same afternoon. And when the day winds down, plenty of Angelenos aren't heading home to an empty apartment. They're heading to the dog park. Off-leash areas around the city log about 6,000 visits a day, enough dogs in motion to fill a mid-sized sports arena with nothing but fur, leashes, and the occasional bark echoing off the fence line. While the dogs are romping, the humans are closing deals across town. LA County sees about 140 home sales every single day, enough closings to fill a small suburban cul-de-sac before the sun goes down. LA County sees about 140 home sales every single day, enough closings to fill a small suburban cul-de-sac before the sun goes down. Over in the recording booths, the city's soundtrack never stops. LA studios lay down about 800 tracks a day, enough finished songs to fill 60 full-length albums between sunrise and sunset. LA studios lay down about 800 tracks a day, enough finished songs to fill 60 full-length albums between sunrise and sunset. That's a lot of music, but it takes power to make it. And speaking of power, the city's electric vehicles are lining up to plug in. 25,000 EV charging sessions happen across LA every day, enough plug-ins to keep a small town's worth of golf carts humming for a week straight. Not every green habit here is electric, though. Some of it's a little more herbal. LA's cannabis market moves about 3,000 pounds of product a day, a weight equivalent to 2 mid-sized cars rolling off a dealership lot, just in flour and edibles. Meanwhile, downtown's courthouses are grinding through paperwork nobody sees on Instagram. LA Superior Court logs about 2,500 case filings a day, enough folders to stack floor to ceiling and more file cabinets than most offices even own. Some of that legal system, though, is doing something genuinely life-changing. In LA's transplant centers, doctors perform about 4 organ transplants a day. That's roughly the number of seats in a large SUV, and each one of those seats represents somebody waking up with a second chance at life. On the sidewalks, the city's food scene keeps expanding one cart at a time. About 40 new street vendor permits get issued daily, enough new carts lined up. End-to-end to fill an entire city block with fresh tacos, mangonadas, and elote. And above it all, LA's air doesn't always cooperate. The region logs an unhealthy air quality day roughly 15% of the time, which works out to about 1 out of every 7 days, wrapped in that familiar, hazy, sepia-toned filter you've probably seen in photos without even realizing what it was. That haze eventually clears, but the city underneath never really stops moving. Take the ride out to the airport. Every single day, LAX sees about 40,000 rideshare pickups and drop-offs. Enough cars looping through that central terminal horseshoe to circle it 3 times over if you lined them all up bumper to bumper. From there, a lot of Angelenos head straight for the coast, but not every stretch of that coast is created equal. Heal the Bay's testers are out there constantly, and on a typical summer day, about 8% of tested beach sites, roughly 1 in 12, fail basic bacteria standards, meaning 1 out of every dozen spots you might spread a towel on is quietly flagged. Back on land, the housing math is a lot slower than the beach math. LA adds new apartment units at a crawl, about 15 units a day citywide, which is barely enough to house 1 mid-size wedding party in a city of 4 million people hungry for places to live. Relationships, meanwhile, are ending faster than homes are being built. LA County family courts process about 90 divorce filings a day, which shakes out to roughly 1 filing every 15 minutes of the business day, like a courthouse with a steady, quiet drumbeat running under it. Maybe that's part of why so many people are on a yoga mat trying to find their center. Across the city's studios, there are about 50,000 class check-ins every single day. Enough bodies in downward dog to carpet several football field-sized lots with rubber mats side by side. Not every creature in this city has a mat to land on, though. LA's animal shelters take in about 60 animals a day, enough to fill 3 school buses with dogs and cats needing a home. The good news is people are showing up for them. Roughly 25 of those animals get adopted out daily. Enough new pets going home each day to fill a mid-sized classroom with wagging tails and confused, happy owners. And down on Skid Row, outreach workers aren't waiting for people to come to them. They're logging around 300 direct contacts a day, enough to canvass every single unit in a large apartment complex, 1 conversation at a time. That's the human side of the city's daily rhythm. But LA keeps humming on infrastructure most people never think about. Take the invisible network overhead. Crews are activating new 5th-generation cell towers across the city at a steady clip. Around 3 new sites go live every single day, like adding 3 new lighthouses to the network, quietly boosting signal 1 rooftop and pole at a time. Speaking of things that shift throughout the day, LA's weather does its own quiet magic trick downtown. On an average day, the temperature swings about 15 degrees Fahrenheit from morning to afternoon. That's like waking up to a cool spring morning and stepping out after lunch into full summer, all before dinner. All that sunshine isn't just for comfort either. It's getting captured. Rooftops across the city are getting fitted with solar panels day after day. About 30 installations happen citywide every single day, enough new rooftop panels to blanket an entire city block in solar glass before the sun sets. And once that energy grid keeps humming, the water system underneath it is working just as hard, quietly, out of sight. Underground pipes distinct from your tap carry treated wastewater back out for irrigation and industry. LA delivers about 30 million gallons of recycled water a day for those purposes, enough to fill something like 45 backyard swimming pools every single day without a drop of it coming from the Aqueduct. It's water doing double duty before it's done with the city. Meanwhile, out on the streets, another kind of daily reset is happening with a paint roller instead of a pipe. City crews respond to graffiti calls constantly, chasing down fresh tags almost as fast as they appear. Around 900 requests roll in every day, and if you lined up all that removed graffiti, it's enough surface area to repaint a full mile of freeway sound wall, day after day after day. Graffiti isn't the only mess crews are chasing. illegal dumping keeps them busy too. Across the city, cleanup teams hit about 120 illegal dumping sites every single day. Enough scattered debris piles to fill a dozen city blocks if you gathered it all in one place. Trees get some love too, thankfully. Urban forestry crews are out trimming canopy across the city non-stop. They work through about 200 trees a day, enough trimmed branches and leaves to fill a city park with clippings by sundown. Underneath all of that daily maintenance, LA's emergency system never really sleeps, especially when it comes to medical calls. Dispatchers field roughly 900 medical emergency calls every day. That works out to about one call rolling in every minute and a half, day and night, weekends included, an ambulance somewhere in the city responding before you've even finished reading the sentence. And finally, buried in everyone's mailbox at some point, the justice system is quietly humming along too. LA Superior Court mails out about 3,000 jury summons a day. Enough paper notices to fill a mail truck twice over before it even leaves the depot. Enough paperwork to keep a courthouse busy for a week. But some of LA's daily numbers aren't made by people at all. The ground itself is quietly doing its own bookkeeping. Beneath the traffic and the studio lights, the earth under Los Angeles never actually sits still. Seismographs across Southern California are picking up tiny shudders in the crust almost around the clock, most of them so faint no human being would ever notice. On average, 10 micro-tremors under magnitude 2 ripple through the LA basin every single day. That's roughly one imperceptible shake rolling through the city every 2.5 hours, day and night. Whether you're asleep, stuck in traffic, or ordering a burger, the ground has already twitched a few times without you knowing it. Stack that against the earthquakes people actually feel, and the picture gets even wilder. For every jolt strong enough to rattle a picture frame off a wall, there are dozens quietly slipping by underneath. And Los Angeles racks up thousands of these silent shivers every single year without a single headline. From shaking ground to steady hands, across the city's farmers' markets, there's a quieter kind of transaction keeping families fed. At folding tables piled with peaches and bundles of cilantro, CalFresh and EBT cards are tapping and swiping all morning long. Los Angeles counts around 1,500 of these transactions a day at farmers' markets citywide. Enough swipes to keep a credit union's teller line busy for hours on end, except instead of cashback, what people are walking away with is fresh produce for the week. And that's Los Angeles, a city that somehow keeps all of this running before most of us have finished our morning coffee. If you made it this far, you already know this place never actually stops moving. Give the video a like, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want more of these deep dives dropping in your feed. So what location do you want us to break down next? Drop it in the comments, and we might just make it happen.